Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. We review anything and everything. Today we're getting into another Marvel Legends set, but I want to mention first, starting off at the beginning of the video, this is a non-unboxing review. So I'm not taking the figures out of the box. If that spoils it for you now, you're welcome to leave. I pretty much want to leave them in here for collector's items. If I end up changing my mind, I will do so later on. But anytime I have a set where you have the clear plastic, you can actually see the figures. I like to keep them inside the package. So this is part of Marvel celebrating 85 years. You have the combination of Iron Fist and Luke Cage, essentially the heroes for hire. Now, for those who aren't really too familiar, and I don't know a whole bunch of background detail or history, whatever the case is, but I believe that both of these characters came out during the height of when martial arts was like a big thing, and that era of, I think when Luke Cage came out, it was like I'm not sure if it was the 70s or whatever, but that whole Shaft era, where, you had the guy who was just really cool and badass and he's running around doing things of that sort. Kind of also around that kind of disco era, which is why his original clothes was very, of that time. And essentially, at a certain point in time, both of these characters, when that wave or that era started dying out, where people weren't getting into all the martial arts videos anymore and the Bruce Lee stuff, and then the Shaft kind of stuff wasn't really, very popular anymore. Um, both of them, both of their comics started to die out. So what ended up happening is they just kind of fused them together in a comic for the purpose of trying to save both of them. And it ended up actually doing very well because of that and allowed them to kind of stay on the map for a long time. And ever since then, they've always been seen as this kind of duo. And it's very interesting because they very much are nothing like each other, but that's what makes it so interesting and why it works. And it's funny because you could also probably even say, not to kind of add to a bad stereotype or anything of that sort, but you could even say that the combination of these two in comics could have been an inspiration for movies like Rush Hour, where you had Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker doing their thing together, essentially heroes in that same, in a more modern sense. But yes, and obviously anybody who's had a chance to, watch the Netflix series on these guys, they would definitely be fully dragged into it based on that. So taking a look at the box on the back of the box art, you can see here Iron Fist on the left, Luke Cage on the right. Definitely looks really nice. Now, Iron Fist has always been pretty much in this same outfit for pretty much all his time. I don't really think much has ever really been modified on him for the most part. I mean, I think before he used to have a shirt underneath that one, and then I think that they had it where he had no shirt underneath, but I can't remember if the older version had like just yellow underneath there, or was he always had no shirt, in the underneath the green. That I can't remember. But Luke Cage obviously had a way different look, and his name was different. He was Power Man, or was his identity. And later on, he just went by his real name, Luke Cage, because, like I said, when those times started to die, and it was no longer kind of really the end thing, they kind of modernized him and changed him up. And I think for the better, because even though he seems very basic, non superhero like in terms of his demeanor, there's nothing wrong with that. Having a character who just who they are, their regular identity is who they are. Some dust on here. Try to wipe that off a little bit. So Luke Cage comes with just one other face, and he comes with one other set of hands. So this pair here, sorry about that, I was yawning. This pair here, they're kind of mixed. So this has the open hand here, and this is the other alternating open hand. And then that right there is obviously the Cage brass knuckles fist, and this is the other Luke brass knuckles fist. It should say Luke on it. Yes. And then obviously Cage on his belt. I think that's a really nice detail. And the character just looks really nice, super muscular, not over the top. Because Luke Cage, for the most part, he's muscular for a normal guy, but he's not in that kind of size range of, say, somebody like the Thing, or anything like that. Obviously, definitely not like the Hulk or whatever the case is. But um, I would say that he's comparable in size. If you understand the real build of someone like Colossus, he's like a shorter version of Colossus, but probably a similar build because Colossus is actually pretty slim for one of the strong guys, but he's very tall. Case in point with that is he weighs 500 pounds and is 7'5", while the Thing is 6 feet. He's not a tall guy for one of the big guys, in Marvel, but he's also 500 pounds. So it lets you know how wide he must be if he's a full foot and 5 inches shorter than Colossus, but weighs the same amount. So Luke Cage has more of that slender, big man build, also kind of similar to Colossus. I'm not sure his size though and everything. I want to say that he's probably in the upper 6 feet range, maybe like 6 foot 5, 6 foot 6. And I want to say that he's in the 300 something pound range. I think I could be wrong. Um, and then obviously, Iron Fist, Danny Rand is just your basic profile, similar to actually, if I remember his height and whatnot from the old Marvel cards back in the days, he was roughly about 6'1", because I remember he was comparable to Daredevil's height, and I want to say he's either 100. I think he's 195 pounds. I want to say, or just right there next to 200 pounds. So him and Daredevil share like the almost the exact same build, shape, and everything like that. Same weight, same height for the most part. I think Daredevil was 6 feet. Well, I think that Iron Fist was actually supposed to be 6'1". So, but roughly about the same and around the same weight. Now, Iron Fist comes with one additional head as well, but he has two additional sets of hands, two gripping hands, a karate chop hand with a fist, and the one he has on is a karate chopping hand with a fist. So obviously, you might pair that either together or the way they did it, where it's the chopping hand with the fist, which allows you to do that motion, which is, something that martial arts often do. He has his energy fist as well, his iron fist, if you call it that, but his energy fist as well, which is nice. So it's not over the top in terms of what they packed in, but definitely it's nice and they give you all the stuff that you really need. Obviously, Luke Cage wouldn't have that much, so it makes sense. And look, I wasn't even paying attention. Extra pair of hands right here. I'm looking from the side of the camera on the side, so I'm just seeing that with the camera in the way. So he actually has four sets of hands, while Luke Cage has two. There really isn't that much extra that Luke Cage would have to do, but for Iron Fist, obviously you want to have all these kind of expressions with his hands because it's all about the martial arts. Even though it's funny because I'm glad they have the extra hands, but I would say this set of hands and this set of hands are almost similar. You could have gotten away with not including those and just having those, but these hands look like they're more of a expressive kind of martial arts maneuver, kind of like that. And these ones are just a regular grip. So there is a slight difference between the two. And like I said, I'm not going to try to make this video very long because, like I said, it's not a opening type of unboxing, just a quick kind of in the box review. I really got excited when I first saw this set, and I definitely wanted to have it. These two characters, to me, what I really like about them a lot, and this is diving more to the characters, less so much the figure, but I really like them as a pair because they really are the quintessential street level crime fighters. And though that's debatable in terms of what is street level, but if we go on the basis of just that they fight street level crime, they don't go after like, the big kind of stuff and whatever the case is. They are like your premier kind of always on the ground kind of street level heroes to the best of my knowledge. Between them and Daredevil, those are really like your quintessential street level heroes. Some people would say Spider-Man, but I think Spider-Man a lot of times goes against things that are far more greater in terms of their, gravity of, how much danger they are. Whereas I definitely would say these guys will go more against your typical street thugs on most of the time on a regular basis. And even though you might have large street thugs like the Hand, where it's like a large group, they're still street level, like they're regular people who have skills. They're not supernatural, superhuman. For the most part, it's just you're fighting large quantities, and that's kind of what these guys seem to do. And in their shows, they even depicted that Iron Fist was going against the Hand, and Luke Cage was going against local gangsters and mob bosses and things of that sort who had like tons of men, tons of guns, and that was pretty much like what they're kind of going against. So I really like that they keep them grounded in that way. With that being said, you guys, like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.